Alright, so we are back with part 2 of this video on tooling Floral Corner number 3. This video we're going to see if we can knock out all of our beveling and hopefully all of our background. So I'm going to start with my biggest beveler and we will work down in size on this one. I'm running a Berry King extra steep checkered. So I believe this is his number 3 that we're going to start out with. It's either a number 3 or a number 2. I'll give you a good look at that. Well, maybe it'll focus. Let's see if we can just focus. Barry does not put numbers on these, so wish I could give you just a solid number. But I do believe that is the 1X steep. I don't like to get too crazy with any extra steep. I really don't think it's necessary for much of the work that we'd be doing. Definitely not necessary for any of the patterns that I'm going to be putting out there. Everything that I'm going to be putting out there, the 1X steep is plenty. So really we'll be able to catch most of these lines with this bigger beveler, and then we'll jump down to a smaller one. Always recommend starting off to catch as many of the lines as you can with a big one and work down. Again, it's just one of those things, makes you more efficient, saves you some time. One tip I always like to give on running a beveler, trying to get really nice smooth lines on these, is to put a lot more lighter tips. If you're getting a real choppy bevel line, you may not be hitting enough times. So more frequent lighter hits can a lot of times help you get smoother, nice, clean bevel lines. And we talked about it a little bit in the last video, but I'm going to work through this whole pattern and I'm going to catch every line I can while this leather is in this position, and then I'll rotate it once, maybe 2 times. Again, just goes back to that efficiency. We want to make as much use of the time we've got in the shop that we can. And then very similar to how we faded out the cuts with our swivel knife, also like to fade out your cuts with your beveler. So when you get down to these ends where you worked really hard with your swivel knife to make those lines fade out to nothing, do the same thing with your beveler. Just run through, and when you get down to the end, just make those taps lighter and lighter and lighter until they fade back out to nothing. Here and catch these. I'm also not pressing this beveler down into the leather at all. Actually holding it just a little bit above that leather. you're ever having any trouble figuring out which side of the line you need to be beveling on, one tip that'll kind of help you is to remember that you're trying to show that whatever vine or flower or whatever it is that you're working on, you're trying to make that look raised. So this beveler is angled this way. So if I'm wanting to make this little sticker look raised, I'd want to push down some leather around the outside of it to give it the illusion that it's popping up off of that sheet of leather. And 99.9% of the time, I don't know that I'll come out with any patterns that will be any different or break this rule. Once you start on one side of a line beveling, you're going to run that same side for the whole entirety of that line. You're not going to switch. So I think we've caught all that we can catch from this angle with this tool. I'm going to go ahead and switch that all the way around and do pretty well a whole 180 on it. And we'll catch everything we can from this angle. Looks like, I believe, we're only going to have to rotate this piece one time. And that's typically how most everything I draw. Just rotate that piece one time. And you can catch all those lines and get everything beveled. I'm running a 16-ounce Clay Miller tapered mold, and I'll run this for almost all my tooling, at least for all my floral tooling. When I'm running a basket stamp or geometric, anything like that, I do jump up to a little heavier maul. I've got a 24-ounce Berry King that I run on that, and that's just so I can get all that done with one hit. I only hit my basket stamps one time per impression, so that allows me to do that without any issue. Probably do another video here pretty quick covering how I go about basket stamping. Always get a lot of questions about that anytime I post any videos like that on TikTok. Probably do a video covering that. Got a little bit different way of going about basket stamping than most. One line that may be a little bit confusing on which side you're going to bevel on is these stumps. All of our other lines, as far as these vines that are going to come in and catch the inside of our flowers, are all beveled that direction. The only one that is different is this stump right here. So on the stumps, this line works the same as all of our others in here. They're going to be beveled this way. But the outside of this stump is actually beveled back this direction. So it's ran with our beveler kind of pointed like that. So we're pressing down this side of the line rather than this one. So that gives both, this stump is raised on both sides. Maybe that's the only line that you'd see like that, or the only line in vine work you'd see like that that's ran that direction. We are going to have to rotate this piece one more time, but it's all right. Not the end of the world by any means. I just missed a couple lines on the last one, but let's go ahead and clean those up. A little bit of a spin about like that. Catch the last of these. Try not to do that. Not a whole lot of fun. Got off my line just a tick. Alright, I think that is going to finish up what we're going to do with this size beveler. Go ahead and jump down. This is one size below that one. So I believe this would be a number 2. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that. So like you saw in the very beginning of the last video, we went ahead and ran our cedars for our flower centers on here. So I will go in, and first thing with this small beveler, we're going to go in and bevel just right around those. Now you may mar that center up just a little bit, but try your best not to keep that beveler off of that center. Nice little bevel around there. If you mess it up just a little bit, don't worry about it. So we're going to go back in and reset that as soon as we get done beveling, and you can fix quite a bit with that. You can go in here and get these flowers beveled. I do like to taper all my lines off coming into the center of the flower. Kind of helps give it a nice little certain look to those flowers, to where that almost looks like that they're kind of domed, if you will. And then I typically, just knowing myself, I'm gonna miss a couple lines with this small beveler. So when I'm going through, working through my background, I do usually like to leave this tool out. Just so as soon as I spot a little line while I'm running my background tool, I can go in and catch that at that point. Obviously you try not to, but that's one of those things that's almost kind of inevitable. And we're going to run this tool the exact same way we did the other one, in the fact that I'm going to get everything I can from one angle and then try to turn that piece as little as possible. Had to turn it, I guess it was 3 times on the last one. See if I can cut that down a little bit with this smaller tool. We'll see. Everything from that angle. Switch it around. See if we can get the rest of it from right here. Beveling always seems to be the most painstaking part of getting through any pattern. I mean, it definitely takes the most time to do, but man, it feels like it takes even longer than it actually does. But try to use it to get better. Catch some stuff that might need to be gone over one more time. I think that's about everything. So, looks like we're about done beveling. Gonna go ahead and switch over and see if we can get some background knocked out. And like I said, I am gonna leave this tool out just because I think I probably missed a few. And we'll come back and catch those in the next episode, or next process. Oh, remember how we talked about if you mar some of these centers up a little bit, that we'd go in and see if we can't fix that? This is the point where I like to do that. So we're just gonna go back in with that same cedar that you used on in the very beginning, and just give a couple taps over those. And it just kind of cleans those up. Alright, so I am going to be using my bar grounders on these. Berry King bar grounders. One is a 5-hole and one is a 3-hole. Usually I can get about 95% of my pattern done with the 5-hole, but every now and then there's some pesky little small spots that kind of give me trouble. You do want your leather to be pretty good and dry when you're running a backgrounder. Kind of helps keep that leather from getting real messed up and marred up looking. Now, when I'm running a bar grounder on the inside of my circles, so all these chunks of background right in here, I tend to like to run it so where the longest part is this way, and just we switch that around. It seems to kind of help the flow of the pattern. It's not that big a deal, but sometimes I like to worry about the small stuff, and that's one thing I do kind of pay attention to. And this leather is just a tick wet to be running a bar grounder, but for the sake of the video, we'll go ahead and get it done. All right, one inside done. I'll go ahead and come up here and catch these. You're always wanting to use the biggest bar grounder you can for the size you're working with, for the space you're working with. That'll help your little lines in there look a lot neater, because there's always going to be some little lines you kind of leave running a bar grounder. If you wanted to use a matte style backgrounder, that'd be just fine. But I tend to kind of like the look of a bar grounder a lot better. And if you're going to do some dyed backgrounds, in my experience, if you run a bar grounder on it, it catches that dye a lot better and doesn't run up onto your tooling nearly as bad as it would if you were running a matte style backgrounder. Alright, got those knocked out. Come down here and catch our last flower. Alright, that is going to be beveling and background on floral corner pattern number 3. Thank you for making it this far in the series, and we will be back with another video and see if we can't get this thing finished out.